This is Amplify Your Podcast. I'm Sarah Lepe, your coach for clarity, confidence, and connection behind the mic. If you're ready to lead with your voice and amplify your impact, you're in the right place. All right, welcome to the very first episode of Amplify Your Podcast. I am so glad that you're here. If you've been feeling like you're meant for more, but something is just holding you back, then this episode today is going to be just for you. The truth is, and what I've seen is that most podcasters don't stay stuck because they don't know what to do. They stay stuck because they're waiting to feel ready. And we're going to talk a lot about that today on this episode. But what I want to offer for you today is readiness, and feeling like you're ready is actually just a myth. It's a way of our own selves keeping us small, keeping us stuck instead of stepping into the power that we know that we have within. And so if you have been sitting on something, maybe you have started your podcast already, maybe you haven't. Maybe you know that you can do a whole lot more with your voice and with your show. There's something that's holding you back, and a lot of times it's our own selves getting in our own way. For example, this show, you guys, for 2 years, I have thought about this show. I even had podcast cover art made for it. I just never got around to actually going and hitting record. And I think part of it is because I knew that a lot of it was going to have to rely on solo episodes and trying to find my voice and reasoning behind what it is that I'm going to do. And in my mind, I felt like I had to be absolutely perfect to just come out. And, sometimes imposter syndrome, I think, is what gets the best of us. I had this limiting belief that because I was a podcast coach and strategist, like I had to go out the gate with this show that was just going to knock it out of the park. And really what I found is I'm just like everyone else, learning and growing on my journey as I go along. And I'm excited to have this podcast because I am going to be growing alongside of you as you begin to find your voice within your business and your brand and what you're wanting to share with the world. And I think it's just so exciting because we're going to be growing together. And what I found is that it's a lot more than just recording an episode. There are so many things that are tied to the mindset work, the putting ourselves in the driver's seat in order to make things happen and get things done. And I'm just really, really, really excited to share this with you guys and go along with you on this journey. So today I'm going to talk about some things and open the floor here really to the backseat of what I've been doing in my life, and also the perspective from the clients and people that I've worked with and how we have just been playing it small. I know I have so much more out there to offer to people. And part of it is I've made excuses that I'm too busy or I got to get it right before I get it out there in the world. And that's just not the truth whatsoever. These are things that we tell ourselves in order for us to feel better about procrastinating or not actually doing things. And when it comes to podcasting, maybe some of these things might resonate with you as well, but the over editing aspect of it too, like a big part of why I started this business that I currently have, which is podcast producing, strategy, and editing for businesses, is because I wanted to take that weight off of other people. When I started my very first podcast, Rebranded Athlete, back in 2020, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I just decided to one Sunday afternoon, just hit record and go for it. And I look back now, like there's two different lenses here, right? So like one is the podcast strategist where it's like, oh, that's definitely not the right thing to do. You want to make sure you have X, Y, and Z. You want to have this plan and that plan and all these things in place. And then the other side of it is like, damn, like I am so proud of that version of me who just decided to show up and go for it and look at what that podcast did for me. And for those of you who are new to me and have not followed my journey or don't really know my story, I'm a former Division I athlete. I graduated college, went into education, and as I was a busy school principal creating the project for my doctoral dissertation, I started to reflect a little bit on my journey and how I was able to move up the ranks in leadership. And I came to the realization that because I was a former elite Division I athlete, I had these leadership qualities that not a whole lot of people had. And I was able to work my way up into the leadership role in a very quick manner. And I attribute a lot of that to the skill sets that I had as an athlete. So to make that long story short, in the process of creating this project that I had for school, I decided to create a coaching program. And to kick things off, I wanted to have a podcast because I just didn't feel like there were enough people talking about this subject. And really, it's something as a former athlete that nobody was talking about even when we graduated. And so that whole platform just opened up so many possibilities for me. And number one, it made me grow as an individual. It got me out of my comfort zone. Like I said, on that Sunday, I hit record, and little did I know how many different seeds that would plant that to this day are still sprouting in my life because I decided to hit record and to go for it. And if you have a show or you've been thinking about doing a show, my question to you is, what's holding you back? Is it the perfectionism of it? Are you the type of person that doesn't like to hear your voice? Those are all things that as you get through the repetition, you start to believe in yourself more and you start to understand the whole process. And like even right now, I've got headphones in and I actually enjoy hearing my voice now compared to when I first started because I know I'm showing up with authenticity and I know that this is real. And what I have to share, if it can even just help that one person, I know that I've done my job. And so some of the things that keep us from playing small or thinking that we have to sound perfect. I remember the first time I got behind the mic as well too. Like even though I went for it that one afternoon, as I did more episodes, I felt like I had to be perfect when I showed up. And that's simply not the case. That's what editing is for. And sometimes we can over edit. I know there's some shows out there that remove every single on, pause, and it just sounds super robotic. I mean, when you sit down to have a conversation with somebody, there's going to be some pauses. There's going to be some missed words, and that's okay because that's part of the human experience, right? We want to make sure that these conversations we're having are actually genuine. I have nothing against AI. I absolutely love it. But there are ways out there now to create podcasts that don't even have the real human element. And if we can, keep that in there just a little bit, I think the conversations will go even further. And this other notion of feeling maybe like you have to sound professional or you're going to sit there and talk on this microphone like you wouldn't talk to anybody else. And that also takes a little bit of time to get over. And funny story here for some of my friends and family that might be listening to this episode, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for those of you who don't, I used to actually be a former principal when I told you was working on my doctoral dissertation, and my friends and family refer to my voice sometimes as my principal voice. And it makes me laugh now because I know exactly when I turn that voice on because I'm trying to sound like the professional in the room and it's just not me. And so as you go and develop your voice, you're going to find your way. And it's as simple as it sounds for just showing up as you are. I think it's the hardest thing for us to do sometimes because in our mind, we think, oh, what will people think if I'm too relaxed and I don't sound like I know what I'm talking about? You know what? Most people don't know what they're talking about until they actually start talking, right? So that's where we get the repetition in, that's where we get the practice. And I'm hoping that even for myself on the show, because this show is going to have a whole lot more solo episodes than Rebranded Athlete ever did for me. And I feel like through this show, I'm going to be able to find my voice and help to guide and lead you guys along the way as well, too. And what I found on that note is that a lot of times we do hide behind guests. And so when I had that show, I was like, you know what? It's so much more fun to have guests on my show. I'm just going to have guests. I'm not even going to worry about any solo episodes. I'll throw in a solo one every now and then when I, feel like I need to update people or I wasn't able to get a guest on the show. But really what I found in that process, and maybe it's the same thing for you, but a big reason why I was putting off having the solo episodes is that I was afraid of sharing my actual voice and being real with people. And It's something that I think a lot of us take for granted sometimes, that we have our own voices and we have permission. Nobody is out there to tell us how we need to show up. And that's the beauty of owning a podcast and having a podcast, is that you can show up however you want, whatever your voice is. But sometimes it's going to take you some episodes and some repetition to find what your voice is. And so you can feel sometimes like these types of things are holding you back, but they're deep down inside, there's something that is telling you that there's more to it. So if you have a current show right now, I encourage you, if you feel like you are maybe getting stagnant or you're just not as excited about your show as you first were when you first launched it and got things going, is it because you're not really showing up as your authentic self? Like, do you have your principal voice on? I guarantee if you start showing up the way that you want to and being a little bit more free and independent with the types of things that you're sharing on your show, you're going to enjoy it a whole lot more. And here's a big realization too, is that your podcast isn't just content. It's actually a mirror of who you believe you are when you show up behind that microphone. So again, if you're playing it small, you're not showing up the way that you know you can, it is more than that. And that's why I am so excited to bring some mindset work into this show and share with you some of the great takeaways that I've heard from either books I've read, other podcasts, other influencers, and the great leaders of our time and even before our time that have given us some guidance and wisdom and how we can really tap into ourselves and show up for those that need to hear our message the most. The other thing is that I've had clients, I have heard from other people in the industry, but there are people, and even myself included, right? So like when I first started doing my show, I was super obsessed with the metrics and the downloads and all of the things that I thought were the right things to be focusing on with my show. And if you stop measuring success by analytics alone, more people are going to be drawn to you because you're going to start showing up more authentically. And yes, metrics help us to make those decisions. They are informative. But at the end of the day, the metrics, they really don't matter. What matters is what people take away from your podcast, how it can help align you to the right clients or the right people who are going to be part of your community and maybe eventually be part of any offers that you have, because you are falling into alignment with them. You are attracting the right type of energy and the right type of people. And then that is going to be how you continue to show up, because you are attracting the right folks that are going to be coming your way. And really, I mean, let's say you had 100,000 downloads, right, on your show. Is it the right type of people who are tuning in? I would rather have a smaller number and know that most of the people who are listening to my show are the right type of people who are going to benefit from the work that I'm doing, rather than having these big, huge, blown up numbers that could or could not mean anything. And no shade on any show that's out there that is actually performing and having those types of numbers. And yes, and I'm not saying that they all don't align and aren't in alignment and when you have those bigger numbers, but I think the fact that podcasters who are just getting started or the ones who have had their shows for a year or two get super discouraged when they see these high performing shows that are doing so well that quite honestly are highly produced like a TV show. And unless you are already a big time celebrity or you have a huge business and brand already, and you're going to be able to spend the investment of not only the monetary side of it, but also the time and the energy that it takes to produce these highly sought after episodes that get produced on YouTube, you're going to miss the point of the whole journey behind becoming a podcaster. And again, that's really what this show is going to be about. It's about the journey to you becoming yourself through the lens of podcasting. And like I told you before in the beginning, with me just starting my show, Rebranded Athlete, has not only helped to shape me as a person, but has brought forth opportunities in my life and have connected me with people that I'm telling you are like lifelong friends, people that I'm going to be running alongside with on this journey. And to think that if I didn't just go for it and I never launched that podcast, or I never kept going after episode 10, to know what I would have missed out on now in my life. I mean, it just blows my mind. Like, there's no reason not to. And so I'm going to use that same drive, that same force, that same energy that I had with Rebranded Athlete. And I'm going to start showing up in this community for you guys and bringing you some value along the way. So bottom line, you need to stop playing small. Get out of your own way. And if you have been putting off either having that guest on the show that you don't feel like you're big enough to reach out to, continuing with your episodes because you went on vacation and never showed back up again, or if you're showing up with that principal voice every day and it's not your true authentic self, I highly suggest that you go within, you start creating the show, the voice that you know deep down you have, and start speaking as if you're already the leader and your audience is going to follow you. Thanks for tuning in. If this episode shifted something in you, please share it with somebody else. And if you're ready to grow your podcast by growing into your voice, DM me the word amplify and I'll show you how we can work together. Remember, your voice is powerful and your message matters. I'll see you next time.